my second Buddha.
Thank you. The two sisters, they busy this Saturday. Yeah, let me share. Yeah, go ahead, Thăng Thiện. You can read now, Thăng Thiện.
Yeah, no, but when the Buddha had finished preaching the sutra, he entered into meditation in a quiet room with a single mind sitting in a single place for 84,000 kalpas. The Suramanas knew the Buddha would not yet emerge from meditation, and so for the assembly of immeasurable millions they preached the unsurpassed wisdom of the Buddha, each one sitting in a Dharma seat preaching this great vehicle sutra. And after the Buddha had entered peaceful tranquility, they continued to proclaim, helping to convert others to the law. The living beings saved by each one of those Swaramanas were equal in number to 610,000 million Ganges sands. After that Buddha had passed into extinction, those persons who had heard the law dwell here and there in various Buddha lands, constantly reborn in company with the teachers. And these 16 Saramana rests, having fully carried out the Buddha way at present, are dwelling in the ten directions, where each has attained the correct enlightenment. The person who heard the law at that time are each in a place where there is one of these Buddhas, and those who remain at the stage of Voihilya are gradually being instructed in the Buddha way. Okay, what I understand is when the Buddha, when he finished teaching the sutra, and then he entered into meditation in a quiet room for 84,000 kalpas. So these 16 Saramanas know that the Buddha is not finished, emerged from meditation. So what they do is they do the job by going out and teach other about unsurpassed wisdom of the Buddha. So they preach the great uh, Vehicle Sutra, and they helping others to convert to the law, and they save many living beings. And after the Buddha had passed into extinction, so the person that heard the law would dwell here and there in the various Buddha lands, and they will be born in the company of the teachers. So, so these 16 Suramanas, so they carry the Buddha way, and they dwell in the ten direction, and each of them attain the correct enlightenment. Um, so the person who heard the law at the time, and the one who remained at the stage of voice hearer, so they are unlikely to practice the Buddha way. Yeah, more precise.
Yeah. So it's easy to understand, right? Hmm.
Yes, yeah, more precise.
Okay. Yeah, let's. Yeah, cô Thông Nguyễn, please.
Yeah, thưa thầy. I myself was numbered among the 16 and in the past pressed for you. For that reason, I will employ an, an expedient means to lead you in the pursuit of the Buddha wisdom. Because of the earlier cause and conditions, I now preach the Lotus Sutra. I will cause you to enter the Buddha way, be attentive and harbor to no fear. Suppose there was a stretch of steep bad road in a remote wasteland with many harmful beasts, a place moreover without water or grass, one dressed by people. A group of countless thousands and 10,000 want to pass over this steep road, but the road was very long and far stretching, extent 500 yojanas. At this time there was a leader, well informed, possessions wisdom of clear understanding and determined mind, capable of saving endangered persons from manifold difficulties. The members of the group were all weary and disheartened and said to their leader, "We are now exhausted with fatigue and wish at this point to turn around and go back." The leader thought to himself, "These people are truly pitiful." Um, so in this part, the Buddha um, teaches in the Lotus Sutra that he will protect sentient being on the way to the Buddha way. Um, just like the leader in this group of people who are who was who will enter this long steep road, and the leader will always motivate them and guide them through the difficulties, even though this group of people were tired and wished to turn back on the road. This is what I understand.
Thank you. So this is just the verses that summarize what we taught, what we discussed up there. Hemi, please.
Why do they wish to turn back and miss the many rare treasures ahead? At that time, he thought of an expedient means, deciding to exercise his transcendental powers. He conjured up a great walled city and adorned its mansions, surrounding them with gardens and groves, channels of flowering water, ponds and lakes, with double gates and tall towers and pavilions, all filled with men and women. As soon as he had created this illusion, he comforted the group, saying, "Have no fear, you can enter the city, and each amuse himself as he pleases." When the people had entered the city, they were all overjoyed in heart. All had a feeling of ease and tranquility, telling themselves that they had been saved. When the leader knew they were rested, he called them together and announced, "Now you must push forward. This is nothing more than a phantom city. I saw that you were weary and exhausted and wanted to turn back in mid-journey. Therefore, I used the power of expedient means to conjure up the city for the moment. Now you must press forward diligently so that together you may reach the place where the treasure is." So it's just he's explaining to them that this isn't the end. This is just you're just halfway there, and we have to move forward. He just wanted them to rest and get a break.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this straightforward. Yeah. John, please.
I seek this. I see the seekers of the way growing disheartened in mid-journey, unable to pass over the steep road of birth and death and earthly desires. And therefore, I see the power of expedient means and preach Nirvana to provide them with rest, saying, "Your suffering, our stingers, you have carried out all there is to be done." Whenever they reach Nirvana and all have attained the stage Arhat, then I can call the great assembly together and preach the true law for them. The Buddhas, through the power of expedient means, make distinction and preach three vehicles, but there is only single Buddha vehicle. The two other Nirvanas are preached to provide a resting place. Wait, rest. Do I still continue?
Yeah, that's okay. You can stop there. That's fine.
So what I can get from the beginning is those that are trying to seek the way were like growing, like some that were like disheartened, like being able to pass like that steep road of birth and death and the other worldly desires. So what person is trying to see like for like the power of expedient means, like, or provide them to like rest, knowing how they're exhausted and how they've done well to come that way. And that by reaching nirvana and attaining the state of arhat, that they can call like, they said that they can call the great assembly together and preach the true law for them. So wait, oh yeah, there also mentions about the three vehicles. So there's only one that is like the single Buddha vehicle, and the other are like for them to rest before reaching it.
Thank you. So, the one point is that the Buddha had intention to teach the Buddha vehicle only one part, but because of the experience mean, he provide that two paths temporarily, right? Let's go back to the basic question, and these the common themes in the Asian traditions. Most of the Asian religions like Hinduism, Jainism, uh, Taoism, uh, and so forth, focus on getting out of the birth cycle. So why is that? Well, why we emphasize on getting out of the birth cycle? Tell me, you understand why? You wonder why?
I think to give people hope that they can end their suffering.
Okay.
So when you say you can get it, because it's all suffering, the rebirth cycle is birth and death. So that's a way of giving them hope.
Okay. William, so you have an idea why is that? Why is that the common themes in the Asian tradition?
Well, I agree with Tammy. Do I have anything additional? Yeah, it is. Why is it? I mean, that part makes sense, to be able to, that at some point in the future that we won't have to, endure the sufferings in the same way. But I'm not sure why it shows up as much in there. I guess because in Christianity we don't think about, like, and I was born a Christian, but I'm practicing Buddhism now. I'm not sure why I said we. There's heaven and there's hell. It's like either way, there's not a deal with going back to be reborn. Why in the Eastern traditions did incarnation, was it established so prevalently? Maybe, maybe it's because the people that were born around the time of the Buddha in the same region as the Buddha had similar karmic affinities. And so they perhaps had heard different Buddhas preach, or even that same Buddha preach in previous lives, or maybe even had interactions with the Buddha before the Buddha realized Buddhahood in previous lives. So maybe it's just a matter of affinity that whole group of people had been aware of the teachings of reincarnation in previous lifetimes. And so they were all born in the same area, and they all gravitated towards certain ways of looking at what comes before and after this life.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Cô Hương Nguyễn, what do you think? Why is that? Why we somehow in Eastern tradition we focus on the incarnation and getting out of that circle?
So I think it's because the idea is to detach from what is around, because I think since most of human beings are so attached to the sixth sense, and they were thinking this is so real. So for they, yeah, with the incarnations, make people do good thing, because there will be next life, and there is karma. However, to enter the cycle of birth, because the root of all of this suffering is come from attachment to things around. And as long as there is no attachment, then there is the chance that a being want to become, or want to being detached from the past and become in the future. This is what I understand today.
Thầy Giáo Pháp.
Yeah, more complaint. Well, I think it's the teaching of the reincarnation is also one thing we need to know, that that is the law of cause and effect. So it's important to understand the law of cause and effect. It's everything with it comes from us, not from other. So and also ending the get out the death and rebirth cycle. It means that that means they hope that we can reach the ultimate happiness. In this case, we call nirvana in terms of void here. That is what the Buddha referred to. It's just a temporary city. It's not the ultimate goal yet, but that means the goal is to find the true happiness. That the idea behind, I think.
Yeah. One reason I brought up this common theme is that if you look around, right, people getting older and older, and we are too. And we wonder one day we may end up in nursing home. And after that, yes, we may come back in different form of lives. And from lifetime to another lifetime, it just go again and again. That's type of cycle. So whether we are tired of that type of cycle or not, of course, that is up to us. But in Buddhist views, yeah, we need to recognize it's the repetition, and that's the path that everyone have to go through. So if we tie up this cycle, we need to do something uh, uh, to meditate and transform all the attachment, whichever, so that we can be free to come in and out of the cycle as we want to. But if we could not, we have to go with the flow, like in anything surrounding us. Uh, the waters, the paper, the plastic, they just go with the cycle. So, uh, of course, in this sutra, the Buddha mentioned that when we get out, this cup cycle is not enough. You need to pursue the Buddhahood, to become Buddha, so that you can help other people to get out too. Uh, so, yeah, let's go back to the same question I mentioned that we feel tired of revolving this cycle when we witness ourselves and other people surrounding us, especially the one getting older, whether they stay at home or they stay at the nursing home. And with this lifetime, um, after we're done with this, we move on. We have another realm, another round of cycle of rebirth. So my question is, are we tired of that, or we can enjoy? What do you think, William? You understand my point, William?
Mhm.
So what do you think?
Definitely at times I will feel more tired of it. At other times it's not really even thought. I'm just caught up in whatever it is that I'm doing. So yeah, I'd say it fluctuates for me.
Mm. So tell me, this new idea, right? It's new principle or concept. I don't know whether you recognize that. You feel that or no? If you believe in the incarnation, if you come back in order, um, and next lifetime, this is the same pattern. What do you think?
So I guess it depends on what type of life you live. So if you have a bountiful life, then you wouldn't be tired of it because you're living a good life. But if you're living a life of suffering or hard life, then yes, you'd be tired of it. So I guess it just depends on what you create out of it. If you can create the goodness out of it, then you wouldn't be tired of it. But if you're falling into ignorance and can't get out of the ignorance, then you would be tired of it and want out.
Mm. So you say that whether you enjoy life or not, this may count, whether it may affect to how you view the life, right?
Sure.
Okay. So, Ân Thiền, what do you think? Look at yourself, look at your family members, look at people around. What do you think? Is that boring to go around this cycle, or that's all we can do? What do you think, Ân Thiền?
Yeah, more say, I think I've seen that people are sick, and I'm kind of very sad to see that. And I know it will be happen in the next life, in many next lifetimes, and it feel like we feel that we will feel suffering in this lifetime, and many lifetimes. It won't be stable. Um, I think if you understand what the meaning of life, and you know that the meaning of life is to put yourself aside and help others, and you want to go through many lifetimes to help people to attain liberation, and you understand that you have to go to many lifetimes to do that, and you feel that you're happy, you're willing to do that, then you do it. And if you don't want to do that, and you want to take care of yourself, and you want to go after the earthly desires, and if you going after something to make you happy, and then later on you will feel sadness in something that you don't like, or that you something that is not there, then you will be very sad, and you have to go through many um, lifetimes to be sad, and that's what I understand. Yeah.
Cô Thông Nguyễn, what do you think? Like we're still young, right? Are you still young? You still healthy? But what happened when you was at the age of 70, 80, 90, and so forth? And of course, that's we can experience the suffering there, and we waiting for the next round. What do you think?
If I can make a choice, I think I don't want to come back again and again.
Mm.
I saw many things, and it just yeah. If somebody asks me just do the same job for the whole life, I feel already very difficult. Yeah, and I saw many things, and of course, sometimes if we are lucky, we still remember where we was in last point of last life. But if we are not lucky, there are many things in this world that would reduce our dharma. Yeah, I think if I can have a choice, I don't want to return back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. So what do you think, William? What do you think? If you have a choice, what do you think?
If I have a choice, what would I think? So I think it would would it, because we've also talked in the past about if you could just go and be born in a Buddha land and experience this liberation from the difficulties versus being reborn in the human realm to help people like Tantien referred to, and to also continue to practice and develop himself. So I'm not sure what my deepest preference would be, or even like how strong, if I tried to, and like right now, if I were to die, what would happen rather than just choosing. I don't know which way I would go. I certainly still have desire. Like I certainly still have, this ignorance that makes like some things on a deeper level like appealing. But on a conscious level, if I could choose, if I could choose to be in complete control and not be subject to some kind of random reincarnation into a situation that may or may not be nice and where there's all of these potential sufferings, versus the other option would be, what would it be like? I would choose a heaven realm, or I would choose to simply like immediately attain Buddhahood, or what would my other choice be if I don't come back?
Mm. Yeah.
Just like no longer exist, or what?
That doesn't mean that you no longer exist in Buddhist view. You're free to come in and out. Like the Buddha used to the analogy that we were born in this type of samsara or cycle. The birth is like we stay in the jail. We're not free to come in and out. But our people, they can come in and out.
Oh yeah, I think freedom. Yeah, definitely freedom over not freedom any day of the week. Absolutely, yes. Choice and yeah.
That's Tammy, you understand that? All right.
Yes.
So what's the choice? Let's say, okay, like you say, right? And depend upon the lifestyle, depend upon how much blessing you have, right? If you have much blessing, you can enjoy, right? But in
Right.
this view, again, you may combine different form of lives. You cannot enjoy all, and you're subject to getting older and pass away. So if you
So,
have the choice, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
so with me, when I first found Buddhism and I
Mm.
heard of the land of ultimate bliss, I was like, take me there. Like,
Okay.
no question, hands down, that's where I want to go. But the more I understand how much control you have over your life, and karma and cause and effect, the more I kind of soften to the thought of coming back to help others.
Oh wow.
Just because, but just like William said, you would want to have, like, if I was gonna come back to the same birth I had and the same amount of ignorance that I was born into, that would be really hard to accept that, I'd have to go through all those extreme sufferings again. But I'm softening to it. Like I said before, I would have been like, no way. Now I'm more like, well, because when you talk about like leaving your children, like I wouldn't want to leave them here. The two that I've given birth to, for sure, I wouldn't want to leave them here without me. And then if you start being able to see everyone as your children, then of course you would want to come back and help them too. But I can't say 100%, oh yeah, I'm all game for that. But it is getting easier and easier kind of to think about anyways.
So that's why in Mahayana Buddhist tradition, we recognize these two important parts when we still revolve in this samsara or cycle rebirth. One is that we let our karma dictate our future life. Karma means our habitual patterns. Whichever thing we do, it will lead us to that destination. That's one part. Another part is what Bodhisattva. We made the vows to come back. We set up our own path to come back in the way that we want to help ourselves and help others. So that's just two important parts. So of course, if you make that part clear, you would not be concerned much until you accumulate enough wisdom and merit. You can come in and out anytime. It's like you visit the prison. You will not be there anymore. You can visit and give them some gift, a present over there, but you can be free, come in and out. So I think we, Tammy, probably you choose the second path, right? Right. The vows, right? The vow to get back in to help others, right?
Right. But does that mean you dictate so you wouldn't be born, so you would making the vows you wouldn't be born into ignorance? Or, I mean, is that still a possibility?
Yes, it's a possibility there, but because you set up your own path, you made the vows that no matter what, or wherever you were born into, you will practice to help yourself and others. Of course, at some moment in life, you may have some kind of ignorance, that you would not remember things, but later on, eventually you remember. Go back to the path. Uh, in our Vietnamese, we say that the horse always remember its own path. I don't know whether you know that.
No,
So
no,
that's
I've not heard it before.
as much as we create some kind of habitual pattern, we follow the pattern. For example, in the morning you wake up, you drink coffee, or drink tea, or you have a donut. That's your habit that you build up for several years. Um, or you stay late, or you go to bed early. So this kind of habitual pattern you build up from time to times. And tomorrow, let's say today, you get used of drinking mm, a cup of tea in the morning. Tomorrow, you have that possibility to drink again. It makes sense.
Yes.
So that's what we call the habitual pattern that we build up. And if we set up our self in that path, the pattern. It's easy for us when we get back, we can follow that pattern again. We have strong possibility that we follow that path again if we set up ourselves. Thông Nguyễn, you want to say anything?
Yeah, so Thầy, in practice, it's very not easy. I remember in practice, it's not easy because I could compare like, okay, one time I threw the key of my own apartment in the garbage, and then I lost the key. I think at that time I stood outside. I don't know how I'd enter my apartment again. Then I think about this reincarnation. Imagine that someone's like, okay, I wish I come back and I will help other people. And then when you reincarnate to a family or whatever circumstance, and then you forgot about that. On the way, I know there is a blessing and there are support and there are protector of the Dharma is there to help us find back the key. But there will be the time that these people lost their own keys. Like me, sometimes I just forgot. I threw my own key to the garbage. And I mean, there was the chance that I have to sleep outside my own house. So with this theory, okay, you turn back to the samsara and you have freedom to enter and you have freedom to take yourself back. But in practice, I think it's so difficult. I experienced that myself. I think it's so difficult. Therefore I yes, since I have this experience, I think it's the samsara is not easy just to enter and to go, because we do need support, we do need Dharma protector, and we do need the blessing from the Buddha.
Yes. Remember, you have no choice. You have only two choices.
Yeah.
Either let the karma dictate your life or set up your own path while you're still here. Only two choices. No third one. No exception. Until you practice meditation and clean up all the mess in here. Right? To get out or get up all the mental fluctuation to attain that kind of shift. Yes, at that time can be free. Otherwise, whether you want or not, that's the path. One is pass away. That means let your karma lead you to the next life, or lead your own paths. Set up your own paths.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all.
Thank you.
What do you think, William? The mic, please. The mic, please. Yeah.
It seems that, desire and resistance or anger being the cause of suffering, if we have any resistance to being here, then we'll suffer if there's something that requires us to come here. So that if we realize the truth that the Dharma flows from, then whether, like, we've talked about these sort of ideas before. Like you said, a bodhisattva, even if they incarnate as a cow or as a dog, it's like no problem, because the content that comes through our senses, we don't identify. If we're not identifying with the content and we're not buying into self-delusion, then whatever is happening, so long as the mind is oriented towards like the liberation of other beings, then it's just all like it's insubstantial, because we can't, if we realize that the true self, and we can't lose anything and we can't gain anything, no matter what, as long as we act from compassion, then and that sounds like an awesome state. that sounds like an awesome state where like all of the ignorance is gone and the greed and the anger is gone, and then it's just like the road is wide open, so to speak. And so because there's nothing to resist anymore, there's no fear to have that, oh, if this is going to happen in my life and I'm going to have problems with it. It would be so cool to not have that fear at all, to just to see the just to see the truth in every moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what many stories of the Buddhas in the past is about. So regardless of the form of life, whether he was monkey, he was a bear, he was a bird, and so forth, he always practiced Buddhist path. So like Thong Nguyen mentioned, that for us as common people, we still have all kind of ignorance. That's why in Mahayana Buddhist tradition, we have what we call Bodhisattva vows. We make the vows from time to time. We stick with Buddhism. We stick with our master, our teaching, and so forth. So that when we take another road, with that kind of vows, could lead us to be closer with them, to guide us at the beginning until we mature enough to help other people. So that's why the vow is so important. The Bodhisattva vows. That's what we set up the path for us to go in the future. Is that understandable, Tammy?
Yeah, it makes total sense. If your only choices are to leave it to chance or to create your own path, of course you would create your own path. I mean, you would want to have control over how you come back next time. It seems like a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to ask, it's very important. It's very important question for us to think. All right. So okay. Yeah. Again, before we move on, that's why many elderly people, if you go to the Buddhist center, right, they say Namo Yepak, right? That means they wish to be born in the Pure Land, so that they would not be born here anymore. But it's not easy again. It takes time to practice. Okay, let's just move on to the next one. Yes, William, please. I think, yeah.
When
Yeah, please.
When I know they have reached, that's the right part, not that I see the seekers. Oh no, when, okay. When I know they have reached nirvana and all have attained the state of arhat, then I can call the great assembly together and preach the true law for them. The Buddhas, through the power of expedient means, make distinctions and preach three vehicles. But there is only the single Buddha vehicle. The other two nirvanas are preached to provide a resting place. I now expound the truth for you. What you have attained is not extinction. For the sake of the comprehensive wisdom of the Buddha, you must expend great effort and diligence. If you gain enlightenment in the law of the Buddha with its comprehensive wisdom and 10 powers, and are endowed with the 32 features, then this will be true extinction. The Buddhas in their capacity as leaders preach nirvana to provide a rest. But when they know you have become rested, they lead you onward to the Buddha wisdom. So this is restating, re-emphasizing this idea that has already been stated and emphasized many times throughout the Lotus Sutra, that the other two vehicles of the Arhat and the Pratyeka Buddha, that these are a part of the great vehicle. They serve the great vehicle, and they're born out of the Buddha's wisdom in understanding the mind of living beings, the minds of living beings, and out of compassion for those living beings. Instead of saying, hey, deal with it, this is how it is, the Buddha goes through, tremendous effort to very meticulously bring people along, and then in a very like specific, timely manner, when they're ready, unfolds the next part of so they can see the greater law that those smaller laws kind of rest within. So, and then this other piece where it says, it's in earlier Shariputra acknowledged something like this, and I think it's the 3rd chapter, where he acknowledges that he thought he had attained extinction, but now he realized it wasn't, and that when he has, if the time should come when he should become a Buddha, then he'll possess all the 32 features. And I think that's a really good way to like disabuse anyone who thinks that they've already attained Buddhahood. They can just check, oh, do I have the 32 features? Are heavenly beings holding me in reverence? So.
Okay. Actually, one thing I like to share with you too. Yesterday, I got a phone call from one student. He's go to the Christian seminary here in Louisville. Tammy, the big one, the southern Christian seminary. You know that?
Yes.
So actually, many of them either come here or call me to ask about Buddhism. So here, I like to discuss briefly because we don't want to bring up some kind of controversial idea, especially the difference among the tradition. So one of the questions he asked me, the differences between Buddhism and Christianity. I'm gonna say yes. One striking difference is that Buddhism starts with the goodness. Yes, everyone has potential to become Buddha, and in Christianity, it starts with the sin. And I give him an analogy. Let's say you approach to a student and say, "Oh wow, you have potential to become a doctor. You have potential to become a teacher as you want to." That's one comment. Another comment is say, "Well, you're nothing. You need to repent your sin, whichever." In a negative way. So how do you think about that person, about that student? So of course, common sense is that yes, if we give them some kind of encouragement, partially, yes, they have full potential to become a doctor, to become an engineer, whichever they want to. Definitely, it would lift up their spirit in Buddhist view. So that's a bit difference, and that's why here the Buddhas, even the Arhat, they attend Arhatship. Um, but this Buddha still try to encourage them to move further, to become a Buddha like himself, so that they can develop uh, themselves as a future Buddha in the fully way, in the complete way, with all the potential. Mm. So, so that's why this uh, uh, reply to them, and that's different. And I think this is so important for us to recognize kind of potential within ourselves, whether we male or female, or whether we have all kind of problems and difficulties, but we have that potential to become one of the Buddha. So, what do you think, William, about that potential? The potential that one day, imagine, oh, we have William Buddha. What do you think? Oh, we have Tang Ting, whoever. Oh, everyone here is become Buddha. What do you think about that? The mic, please, William.
I think once we believe that, then it makes any future reincarnation less burdensome.
That's the point. Yes.
That if we're, you know, if we're, because it's certain, the Buddha says it's like it's certain, you know, if there are living beings who after the Buddha has passed into extinction are of good and gentle mind, then living beings such as these have all attained the Buddha way. So it's like, well, if we are reading the Lotus Sutra and we believe it and it delights us, and that means that it's like we're on a train track in a way. Not really. I mean, there's got to still be possible different, take more time or less time depending on how diligent we are, but that sooner or later we will realize Buddhahood. And it's relaxing in a way. It's like, okay, because there's some anxiety or tension about things. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's helpful. And then I did, when you were talking about that difference of, you know, starting with the concept of Buddhahood, well, we definitely see a good amount too of like the other end, even within Buddhism, of like the consequences of the hell realms. Like we will always, even a hell being has Buddha nature, but like we also have that potential of where we could go into these, because like the like Earth Store Bodhisattva Sutra is very explicit on like all of the terrible things that can happen too. But so it's like there's like both things there. There's the carrot and there's the stick.
Yeah. How about Tammy? Imagine that you are Tammy Buddha. What do you think? What do you think about that potential one day? There's samsara rebirth. What do you think?
So I was born into a very Catholic family, and the whole when you talk about being born into goodness or being born into sin, it's an extreme difference. And I didn't realize how much it really affects you. But I have my grandfather, two of his sisters are nuns. So two of my great aunts are nuns.
Oh.
And so one of them's like, it's funny because we joke, like one's the angel nun and one's the devil nun. Like, the one one's just rude and blunt, and she worked at Fort Knox, so she worked with the soldiers. But she would straight up come up to you and tell you your kid's going to hell if you didn't baptize them. Like, you better hurry up and baptize that baby, because it's gonna, if something happens, it's gonna go to hell. And it's just like, now it's like, it's so hard to believe, because like there's nothing purer, in my opinion, than a newborn baby. I mean, because they're just so innocent, you know, they've not been exposed to anything. So to think that they're born with this original sin, like it's hard for me to comprehend. And at the time I didn't even really understand like what they were saying, but now to me it just doesn't make sense. But I also think that it leads you to live a life of thinking everybody's bad and against you. So if you believe people are born with this original sin and they need to be baptized to wash it away, then you start looking at everybody as being a bad guy rather than seeing the good in everybody. And then when I finally came across people at the yoga studio that talked about the divinity within, I had never heard of that before. Like, that was a new concept. And at first it was hard for me to accept, because that makes us all godlike, you know, but then once I was able to embrace that and now, you know, convert it to the Buddha nature, then it's very liberating, and it's very, you know, helpful to know that we're all, you know, divine beings. We're all potential to be Buddha. We're all the same. You can leave all the negative and the bad in the past and just move forward in goodness. It's very helpful to believe that way, I think.
You see, you are tutor for our ESL students in Vietnam. Many of them, they're poor children, but they have so much potential, right? They right now don't have the environment, the proper environment to develop themselves in a fully way. That's why we're coming to help them. So that's why we need to nourish this kind of potential trees. right? They become great teacher, great professor, great doctor, whoever, and even our little bodhisattva to like Go Thân Nguyện, right? They have so much potential. It's like that's why you love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle, Vivian, Harley, Lily, all the tutors.
Yeah, they have so much potential. Yeah, so that's their goodness, their innocent. We in in the common sense, right, when someone was born as a baby, they are so innocent and they're so pure. That they have so much potential to become whoever they want to. That is the Buddhist path. That is Buddhist notion, and that give people better hope, especially for the poor children in Vietnam. And uh, yeah, mm, you were born here, you may not have that kind of experience, how the hardship that we went through when I was young. Yes, it's not easy for me to imagine that one day I become a professor. It's impossible. You can say that when I was little in Vietnam, because that's not the industrial environment. That's why we came here. We have that kind of chance to move on in this life. Mm. It's not easy. Thầy thầy giáo pháp, so you know, oh, you can share thầy giáo pháp your potential and all the little Buddhist potential in our lab to school too.
After school. Oh, yeah, move. Okay. Yeah, they're very good. Actually, the online after school, the tutor is really wonderful, and they go in and they help out. And I think a lot of kids they love the tutor, the way they teach. I'm very excited about the program. So that means when we provide the environment, that means we provide the environment to give the people a chance to develop the potential. That's important, and that's why the Buddha said that every being have the Buddha nature. Even the most evil being, right? They can become the good one. So who knows? They can later on they can become the doctor or whatever, right? We never know. So this is the time we pray to provide environment for them to grow as well as ourselves grow as well. That's the good thing. We grow together.
I don't know. It seems to me there's some type of contradiction in Western religion. Yes, it starts with the sin, but somehow in the secular life, especially in school, most of the time teacher encourage students to um, develop in the fully way with that potential. William, you recognize that kind of contradiction in religion? Yes, you don't have that. You have so much sin in secular life. Yes, everyone have that kind of potential um, that we need to encourage. You know why is that? Why
Well,
was so much contradiction in the West? Why is that?
I think like the function of the idea of sin, it tends to breed guilt in
Uh,
a way. And then I mean the idea that it's like, and there's nothing that can even be done about it except then, well, Jesus took care of it for people. So then if you want to go to heaven, you believe in Jesus, which I mean, the symbol of Jesus is positive, like all of the things that he did. But it's interesting. It's definitely different than Buddhism, because it's not saying that, and you, I mean, Jesus said things that were like, in the things that I have done, you will do in greater, but never do they say that someone will become a Jesus-like figure where they'll also be considered like in the same position of Jesus. It's like they'll go to heaven, but they're not like Jesus. Jesus is seated at the right hand of the Father. So we're all, and the idea that we could be consigned to from a being that supposedly created us, that we could be consigned to like an eternity of suffering. I think psychologically it's just it kind of weird. It sends some mixed messages. So in a way, I think that in the secular world where there's not concerns of that and people are just looking at each other as people, I think some of the teachings of Jesus like work really well when you take away some of the other ideas, like do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Like, I mean, the teachers are if they're not religious, they tend to still think about what would, what's right, what's good. Like if I was in that situation, because we all have these built-in, they're called mirror neurons. If we see someone hurt, the same neurons that fire in that person when they get hurt, they fire in us just to a lesser extent. If you like do an MRI and look at the firing patterns of functional MRI, so we have this empathy that's built in. So I think without religion, many people will still have that, so long as it's not covered up by them being really greedy or really angry or something. I think of, last weekend I went camping with an old friend who I'd known since I was a little kid. He's an older guy, and he's not religious. He's not quite atheist, but he ascribes to no religion. He thinks that when he dies, everything is over. Everything stops. There's no reincarnation. There's no heaven. There's no hell. It's just over. But the way he lived his life, he's a lawyer, and when he was younger, he rented a room from my stepdad, and he was making over $100,000 a year. But he lived in this we lived in this like old broken down house. My stepdad did. My dad lived in a great house, but I'd, go back and forth. And we lived in this old broken down house, and Dave Peasel would rent a room up in the top floor. Disgusting. The room was like, the house was just terrible. And he would buy like a bag of potatoes every month, and he would live off of nothing. He would like barely spend any money. He saved all of his money. He retired when he was young, and then he went to work for Habitat for Humanity. And he worked as a lawyer helping people keep their houses. And like, he like sacrificed throughout his life, and his pleasures are going camping. So he went on a trip to Tibet and like hiked through Tibet and hiked through China, but he doesn't take pleasures in like jewels or fancy things. He values his relationships as his like number one thing is he really cares about people. So when you go camping with him, he's always checking in on you. He's making sure that you prepared well and that you have everything you need. And but he doesn't need any system to motivate him to put himself in someone else's shoes. And I think that like kind of speaks to the Buddha nature. Like there's this thing inherent in us that so long as it's not absurd, naturally we want to help people, even if we really don't believe anything's in it for us other than what we get from helping them. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think everyone has that type of innate Buddha nature, but let's say if we are educators, if a teacher, and we teach our children from young age, oh, you have so much potential, whichever thing you want to do for your life, you can do that, you can achieve to that in the secular life. But if you work in the spiritual life, yes, you have potential to become a Buddha. With that kind of idea being instilled in the young age, this is purely positive, right? This is great, this kind of great momentum for the motivation of their starting, right? Right, them tell me, right? If you tell your children, if you want to become a doctor, do it now. Think about that, right? What do you think? Is it a small positive outlook, for them?
Oh, for sure. That's one thing I really enjoyed as a kid was going to school. That was my favorite thing, just because you got that positive feedback, because you had people that were willing to help you, that wanted to help, you become the fullest that you could become. Where families kind of I always was grateful that I didn't come from a small community, because I always feel bad for people from a small community, because I feel like they get pigeonholed. Everybody knows everything they did all throughout their life. So they're always going to remain whatever they were as a child. Like it kind of kills the growth potential. But for sure with the education system, how they help you along. I mean, that was my favorite thing as a kid, to go to school, to just be encouraged to learn. It was very beneficial to me.
Okay, so thank you. Dr. Nguyen, you want to say anything about our little Bodhisattva?
Yes, when I was also thinking about our little bodhisattvas, they are great. Like they, I would say, I think I'm lucky that I joined this Lotus Sutra lessons, and then you introduced me to this class, and I met many colleagues. That's so little, 10 years old, 13 years old, and they already have this ability and potential, and also the will to help the other, which I actually did not have when I was that young age. So I think we are blessed that we have these kids around.
They
Also,
enjoy it too, right?
yeah, also
They,
I wake up at 3:30. Just I want to have this meeting with this Bodhisattva, because I want to learn from them as well.
Vivian, you know Vivian, right? Sorry, William, you know Vivian, right? From California.
Yeah.
She wake up around 5 or 5:30 to be ready for teaching.
Wow.
And many of us,
You,
yeah, we could
and
not.
I missed it. It's 9 o'clock here for me, and I missed it.
Yeah.
So
Wow, so
now I just.
and today
I
she makes the Excel when we were talking about giving the gift to the kids, and then she make her own Excel. She want to check what people come in, what people not. Also during the preparation, she call the people. She check if you come or if you will not come, will you present or not? And if the people present, then she will take herself back. Okay, let people present first. Also, she creates many group chats so that people connect to each other. She send people mail. She call people. She's great. I told her mom I found the boss.
Oh, yeah. Remember, she's only 13-year-old girls,
Yeah.
not 23, not 33. Yeah, yeah. That little Bodhisattva there. They have there's so much time for them to do things, good things for other people. Anyway, so thank you. Let's us end today, and see you soon. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Thăng Thiền. Can you say, please, Thăng Thiền?
Namo Sakyamuni Buddha, Namo Sakyamuni Buddha, Namo Sakyamuni Buddha.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Thầy. Well,